Have you ever wondered if living on the moon or another planet like Mars will be better off than living on Earth? If having an adventure into space catches your fancy, stay tuned to see the latest innovations and China's attempts to colonize the moon and Mars. China's space goals. China had its first ride to becoming a global leader in space exploration with the launch of its first astronaut into orbit around the Earth 19 years ago. China's tenacity to achieve space domination has been evident since the year 2018, as it has launched more rockets than any other country. Not just that, last year, China ranked as the second biggest spender on space programs, with the United States taking the lead. For various important reasons, the moon is China's first target as the country aims to land its first manned moon mission in the year 2036. China also plans to set up a permanent base alongside Russia between 2036 and 2045. There are two major reasons why China wants a base on the moon. Mining in space. The moon is believed to be rich in minerals such as iron, magnesium, calcium, aluminum, titanium, and so much more. According to NASA, the moon contains untapped resources worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Plus, there are no borders or governing rules that will restrict mining on the moon, giving China the chance to build a monopoly on natural resources, which they have already started. A remarkable thing following the successful completion of China's mission to the moon last year in December is the return of rocks from the moon. This proves that China's plan of transporting minerals from the moon is a possible feat. China is on a mission to conquer space by mining the moon and establishing colonies on Mars, with the building of its space station, which commenced this year and will be completed next year. This brand new space station is called Tiangong, or Heavenly Harmony, with which China aims to launch many permanent homes across the solar system and not just have a one-time event of landing on the moon and on Mars. Humans on Mars. Now, here's where Mars comes in. Aside from transporting mineral resources, China wants to build a permanent base on the moon as a strategy to have a successful mission to Mars. The base on the moon will serve as a power station, somewhat like a petrol pump to get rocket fuel such as hydrogen and oxygen, which is abundant on the moon. China isn't the only nation in the conquest of the moon and Mars. NASA, the United States Space Agency, in partnership with the European Space Agency, also has plans to bring the Martian soil and rock samples from the moon to Earth in 2026. A major part of their plan is to launch astronauts to Mars around the late 2030s or early 2040s. NASA's plan to colonize the moon and Mars is still in its early stages and could change considerably over time. However, NASA envisions using a habitat-like spacecraft to transport crew members to Mars, with a hybrid rocket stage powered by both chemical and electrical propulsion. It would be a long journey of 4 people with 2 people alighting on the surface, similar to the model seen in the Apollo program with 3 astronauts. About 25 tons of supplies and hardware would be made available for the crew, which a previous robotic mission would have delivered. These supplies would include a readily fueled crew ascent vehicle that would transport the astronauts from Mars back into orbit around the planet. China on a solo space mission. China's mission to colonize the moon and Mars is a solo one because Chinese astronauts have been barred from entering the International Space Station by the United States. Not just that, they were excluded from being part of the Gateway, a moon-orbiting space station. NASA has never worked with China due to security reasons and concerns. Instead of being let down by their circumstances, the Chinese rose and decided to build their satellite infrastructure, implement a robot campaign on the moon, and recently, design and construct their space station. China already has 2 prototypes of what life on Mars would look like. They made developments by building a simulation of life on Mars in a remote and northern part of the country, which is quite similar to Mars in terms of landscape. The prototype, which is named Mars Base No. 1, is located in Gansu, China, right at the edge of the Gobi Desert. It was built in 2019, spending about $61 million. Quite terrific. China publicized this via a reality TV show hosted right on the Mars base. As of now, Mars Base No. 1 has become a center for education to inspire the younger generation to build a career in the space program, and a home for tourists. The simulation base is amazing as it has a big and fancy sleeping lodge and commanding sensors, just as in science fiction. Wheat crops are being grown indoors, and there is no basic amenity needed for man to survive that is lacking. China also tried to simulate the outer parts to look like Mars. You would find spacesuits, giant exploration vehicles, and rovers outside the base. The second prototype China built to project how life on Mars would be is the Mars Camp. The Mars Camp is situated in the northwestern part of the country, further into the desert. Mars Camp isn't as fancy as Mars Base Number 1, but it's a more realistic view of how life could really be on Mars. They refer to the Mars Camp as a site for scientific education. China has plans of having its first launch on Mars by 2033, and it isn't going to be a one-time thing. They plan to go again in 2035, 2037, 2041, and 2043. They plan to achieve this by using nuclear-powered spaceships for the first cruise. China's Mars plans include the building of Sky Ladder, a physical structure extending from the ground into low Earth orbit, somewhat like a space elevator which won't require the massive amount of energy a rocket would consume. The building materials for the Sky Ladder are a space-age material called carbon nanotubes, a hexagonal work of carbon lattice made up of carbon atoms. The amazing thing about it is its strength and lightness, coupled with its ability to transport structures that are several miles in length. Elon Musk and SpaceX. Elon Musk also happens to be another major force forging hard to colonize the Moon and Mars. When he built SpaceX 20 years ago, his initial plan to send a greenhouse full of plants to Mars has now evolved to turn Mars into a sustainable city, making humans multiplanetary civilized beings. To achieve this, SpaceX and Elon Musk have been working hard to build prototypes of the largest and most powerful rockets ever known, which would be able to convey humans alongside large amounts of cargo to Mars. Like China, Elon Musk plans to get to Mars, but instead of a space elevator, he plans to use a gigantic, overpowered rocket. Elon Musk also has serious intentions and laid out plans to colonize the Moon and Mars. Building the Starship is a major highlight and is central to his plan. The Starship is a fully reusable rocket currently under development in Texas and will enable SpaceX to send humans and cargo to Mars. In addition, the ship can launch over 100 people into space at a time. The Starship uses liquid oxygen and methane as fuel, rather than the usual rocket propellant. This implies that explorers can fly to Mars, refuel using resources found on the planet, and fly back to Earth. The ship is expected to have its first flight this year. China's mission to colonize the Moon and Mars might seem like science fiction, but has the potential to turn into a reality. They have great records of success as a nation, and they have the fastest growing economy, averaging gains of about 10% per year for the last 30 years. China also has a record of being the world's largest manufacturing economy and global exporter of goods. The Chinese are known to have a great resolve to accomplish their goals, and so there's a high probability that China would be able to achieve its mission of colonizing the Moon and Mars. In connection to Russia quitting the ISS, will there be a possibility that NASA will accept China to work with their mission in the future? What do you think the next question would be if China eventually succeeds in its mission to colonize the Moon and Mars? It looks like the future of life on Mars will be here sooner than we thought. Make sure you share your thoughts in the comment section below.